Well, alrighty, gang. Welcome back to the Active Self-Protection Podcast. I am yet again, for the 130th week in a row, your host, Mike Williver. And with any luck at all, I remain your favorite former Fed. With us today is a new friend of mine. His name is Matt. Matt lives in Silver Spring, Maryland, which happens to be where I was born. Matt is formerly a special police officer in Washington, D.C., which is a job I used to have, oddly enough. And he is single, and currently he is a private investigator. Matt, how are you?
Darkstar Gear is one of the few companies that I trust to make holsters that I wear. They make high-quality appendix carry holsters for a variety of firearms manufacturers. Check them out at the link in the description.
Matt, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Just hopping here onto the show with you to discuss some cool things, and we can have some fun.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. Not having fun on my show. That's kind of the bottom line.
Yeah.
We try to have fun around here. I think one of the things that separates Active Self-Protection, the YouTube channel and the Extra channel and this podcast from a lot of other people that are kind of in our lane, this is just my 2 cents, I'm editorializing now, is that we don't take ourselves super duper seriously. We take the subject matter seriously when it calls for it, but the rest of the time we're down for some shenanigans and having a little bit of fun. And I think that's okay too. We try to not come off as super tactical cool guys who are cooler than you. And I don't mean you, Matt. I mean you and people in general,
Yeah.
you, the royal you. So first of all, what got you interested in your previous career of special police officer? Like I said, I did the job. I can kind of explain it briefly for the people who don't know what that means. Special police officer has his or her feet in 2 worlds. One is security, the other one is law enforcement. You are sworn. You're able to make arrests and do other things that police officers can do, carry a gun, depending. Some places you do, some places you don't. This is in Washington, D.C., by the way. I don't know about other places. And, but you don't, for example, off duty, you're not able to do any of those things. It's not like entirely like being a cop. It's not entirely like being a security guard. So, and I remember when I was doing it, that would create some confusion with some people who thought, you were just DC police or whatever. At any rate, what got you interested in that job, and what sort of special police officer were you, and what did you do?
Yeah. So I have I guess I started from the bottom, so to speak. I graduated college and I started applying for different jobs, different law enforcement agencies,
Mhm.
and I had one interview, and they told me, "Oh, we don't really know if you want to be a police officer," and I took that really personally. So I was like, "This is what I want to do."
Right.
So I started out in security. I did unarmed work. Then I wanted to get into armed, so I switched over to another company called P Change, which is a great company that works in Maryland in
Mhm.
DC. Um, and I did armed security with them and working in really, really rough parts around PG County that bordered the Washington D.C.
I know it well.
So we got actually a lot of experience with that. I dealt with more drugs, actually, believe it or not, as a security guard over there than in DC as a special police officer.
No kidding.
Uh, yeah, oh yeah, a lot of PCP and stuff like that. Um, yeah, oh yeah.
No, it's,
But I switched over to I was like, let me upgrade, go
sure.
into the law enforcement realm.
Mhm.
This is my path. And so I became a special police officer in DC. I think the requirements are like 40 hours of training,
Mhm.
which is basically like a week or 2 of classroom training, if you even do that at all. Uh,
Right.
but it just consists of like basic, here are the laws, here's how to shoot, go qualify, here's a pepper spray, and they rub it on your face or spray it on you or whatever. Um, and then you get certified, and then they teach you how to handcuff and baton, all that,
Mhm.
the basics. But there's no 6-month academy,
Right.
no 2-month long training or whatever. It's just in and out pretty quick. So very basic, but like you said, you are a fully sworn police officer. The main the main takeaway, the main difference is jurisdiction. Being your jurisdiction is whatever your company or whoever your employer
Right.
contracts with, that's your jurisdiction. And you can chase people off your property, but as the crime has to start on your property.
Mhm.
And then yeah, we can't transport. So if we make an arrest, uh, DC has to do that for us.
Mhm. So
Um, and the kind of special police officer I was, we worked in housing,
okay.
like government funded housing for like lower income.
Mhm.
Um, so we would contract. We got a lot of contracts. Let's see, Stanton. Um, I can't remember a lot of the names.
That's okay.
Glenarden. Yeah, but all basically all around Southeast DC. We had contracts all throughout DC, but the main ones were in Southeast DC where we got a lot of them. So we would go back and forth between different properties, and respond for help. You know, just like you would in your district as a police officer.
Mhm.
We did have blue lights on the cars, but we could we would get in big trouble if we ever try to use them on the roads. So
Right.
we gotta keep them on the property. Um, but we hightailed our asses anyway because if someone's getting possibly hurt, you definitely want to help your friend, help your fellow officer.
Yeah, it's funny. My SPO experience was pretty low drag. It was at a we talked before we hit the record button, so you know this already, but the listeners don't. It was at an office building in Northwest Washington, kind of near the White House, in the Secret Service field office, not the one that services the White House, but the regular field office that does all the other Secret Service stuff in the DC area was there, and some big time law firms or whatever. I dealt with a lot more actual crime working, as you were saying, working private security in housing complexes, Section 8 housing complexes. And for me, it was
Yep,
mainly in
yep,
Montgomery County, but some in DC and some in PG County, but Montgomery County for the most part. Now, if you're from Montgomery County, you know it's most of Montgomery County is pretty nice, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
everywhere has their areas.
yeah.
And yeah, I got to work in some pretty sketchy places. And looking back on it,
What
I can't
downtown
believe
Silver Spring
no, not in Silver
or
Spring. I worked so in Germantown there was a little apartment complex all over Gaithersburg, Rockville. I don't at the time I
hmm
don't recall, this has been since the 80s, so I don't remember if they had any contracts in Silver Spring, but I spent a lot of time in Silver Spring, and I know that it's never quite been, let's say, as nice as the rest of Montgomery County or most of Montgomery County. Silver Springs always had kind of a higher crime rate. I was a police
mm,
explorer in Montgomery County, and so I do remember when I rode in Silver Spring, it was always busy. There's always some knucklehead doing something. Compared to Rockville or Germantown or wherever else you might end up. What was the other one? Wheaton, I think, was the other office. It's been a long time. Anyway, um, so yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I did a lot of that exact same stuff. I'm sure back then it was a little more Wild West than it is now. There weren't
oh, yeah.
didn't seem to be as many
I heard
rules.
they only carried six shooters in DC at some point.
Yeah, that was actually a little before my time. I don't know exactly when, but DC Metro went to Glock 19s or 17s sometime in the late 80s, early 90s, and yeah. Anyway, but enough about MPD. So, in your current job, what kind of work do you do? Kind of tell our listeners what it is you and our viewers, sorry, people on the app,
Um,
what you do.
well, I can make it sound really boring or really fancy.
It's up to you.
um, yeah, okay, I'll start with the fancy one. So I do surveillance work, undercover. So that means not being detected. So I'll follow a person, and we can use techniques such as using databases, um, and pretexting for certain scenarios where we might have to interact with a neighbor or even the person we're following
Mhm.
themselves. And so that requires thinking quickly, having pre-planning stories and excuses and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um, Kind of like you would if you were like an undercover agent, but it's not that cool. Uh, like I said, it sounds cool, but and then basically our job on the not cool side is just to follow people and film them.